Nice to see you, Savannah. This is great.
Yes, so
Uh,
good to see you.
I got to do this. I don't know if they hip you to it. Before we get started with any podcast, we do what is called the over the top intro because we are so lucky and grateful to have people like you stop over here and chop it up with us for a little bit, okay?
Yeah, amazing.
So let's get started. My next guest is the pride of Brandon, Florida. She is a third generation musician and one half of the country pop duo Lexana. But this young lady has been doing it on her own for quite some time now, and she's here to talk about her upcoming EP, Reminders of You, due out August 20th, 2024. Savanna Leigh, welcome to the podcast.
Hello, welcome. Thank you for having me.
Savannah, you have had quite a journey. Just before we just jump into you doing your thing, but you've always been around musicians, whether that be, like I said, third generation in the intro. At what point did you decide to pursue it? Like, okay, this is something I want to do. Not because I'm around it, but this is what I would like to do.
Yeah, I think growing up just around music so much and being around family members, like my grandma too owned like an acting company out of Georgia, and she was like really big into theater. And so I was kind of just thrown onto the stage that like I'm pretty sure age 2 was the first time I stepped on stage. And I think I just was always encouraged by like my family and the people around me, like if this is something you want to do, like this is possible as a job. It doesn't have to be some far away like pipe dream kind of thing, and it very much so can become real. And my parents are both entrepreneurs even now, so I think just being surrounded by people who can take something out of nothing and make a career out of it was something that I was just really inspired by and encouraged by. And I think just being on stage so much and seeing people connect to music, it was just like an outlet for me growing up and a way for me to get in touch with myself and my feelings. And I was always just really inspired by that. And I don't know, I always kind of just felt like drawn to it, almost like I don't know if there was anything else that I could have done that would have made me that happy. And so yeah, I think it was pretty young. I think the second that I was able to step on stage and just perform and be around music, it was a natural thing for me.
Well, we kind of touched on this a bit where we talked about the journey itself, and you kind of said it a little bit in that you are not an overnight sensation. You are an 18-year overnight sensation if you break it down to when around that time. So the journey had a lot of starts and stops. I guess what I'm trying to where was the fine tuning where it was like, oh, I want to take a little bit from this, history says this, or I want to do that. Where are you, I should say, in your journey right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think it all really, really kicked into gear just for me as an artist. Probably like 2019, like ish, end of that year, right before COVID. It's kind of when like me and my sister kind of said, "Hey, I think we should pursue our own thing." I think like we loved doing music together for fun, but it became a little bit too much of like a strain, I think, on our family relationship. It was always kind of like a thing where we felt like our family kind of like pushed us into this duo type situation. And it was natural for me to be kind of always under her wing. I guess I'm the younger sister, and I think I just always felt like there was something more to give, but I was probably just too afraid, honestly, at the time to step out on my own. And so when we both kind of decided to go and pursue our own musical careers, I think that was around the time where things really shifted. And I felt like for the first time I saw that I had like my own voice and my own songwriting style. And I knew I was drawn more toward like the indie pop world rather than, country. And I just felt like I was really coming into my own at that time. And I spent that whole year during COVID just writing as much as I possibly could. And because, the industry was shut down, I went back home to Florida for that entire year, and I was just doing Zoom sessions upon Zoom sessions and FaceTime writes and just trying to, see what my voice would sound like and what my original music was and what it would say. And I think ever since then, yeah, it's just been consistently each year, finding more and more team members each year that can like come in and help elevate what I've already been doing and just, help me get to the next level each year. I think, yeah, 2022, I met my manager. So I'd been doing my own stuff at that point for about 2 years. And I got connected to her through my legal team. And we just kind of started that. It was like a very small, just me and her, honestly, kind of thing. And now we've, grown up into 2024. Like 4 EPs out at this end of this fall will be my 4th EP. And just, yeah, just grown so many people that have just joined the team and helped us and elevated us in so many ways. And I think that's where I am now, is just like getting ready for this next project and feeling like it's probably the most authentically connected I've ever been to a body of work. And I'm really excited to just have it out and to show people like just the development and growth of the music, I guess, over the last 4-ish years.
All right, and that's pretty dope because I did get a chance to listen to some cuts from this project. I kind of want to focus on happier songs in Mason Street, mainly because although I like them, they're pop songs that are, well, you kind of went off the beaten path because pop songs aren't really deep and introspective. It just pop songs for years have never held a mirror up to itself like you did in those two songs. What made you decide to go that route where you looked more within? Because these two, and we could talk about them individually, but these are very personal things that you're getting out there.
Yeah. I think for me as like an artist and a songwriter, I've always really connected to storytelling, kind of like style writing. And I think that does come from growing up listening to country. I just loved how, vulnerable some of the music I, was inspired by growing up was. And I just love when there's like a through line with a project where you can understand just like the body of work as a whole. And the story, yeah, has to be there for me when I'm writing. It's the only way that I know how to write. And I just think toward this, like the last year, I'd say, yeah, when we started writing these songs, I'd done a lot of music at that point, about other people, relationships that I'd been in, or just like pain, through those relationships. And I think I was getting to a point where I was like healing from that hurt, and I was looking at like, what's the thing that's inspiring me now? And like, what am I afraid to kind of write about? I'm always someone that tends to push myself out of my comfort zone. Even if I don't know why I'm doing that to myself, I'll just keep doing it over and over again. And I just knew, yeah, that these songs were something that I knew people would be able to relate to. And I think a lot of the time when you're going through like a really tough, painful experience, you feel like you're the only person that's ever felt those emotions. And I think logically, we all know that we've all experienced, things like, families not like family dynamics changing, and like heartbreak, and also just
Yeah.
being somebody that is, very like independent and has spent a lot of time alone. I think the idea of like finding a person that you actually do want to spend, time with and date again after being alone for so long can be terrifying. And just there's so many things about it that I felt like I know people out there can relate to, and I know I'm not the only one, dealing with it. So I've always been somebody who, yeah, loves pop music, but I also love like storytelling, writing, and I've always wanted to take those two worlds and kind of mesh them together. Because I think that's important to me. If the song doesn't have like, depth to it, it doesn't really feel like a me song.
Yeah, it makes
Um,
sense. It really
yeah.
makes sense because like it kind of dovetails into my next question because you take a song like Mason Street, which is, and you're the artist, but this is what I got from it. You're in a very crowded place, but you feel like it's just you. It's just you. And I have been there a couple times in my life where you're in a room, or in this case, a street, where everyone's going about their business, everyone's doing their thing, and it's just nothing. You're just scenery to some degree, where
Mhm.
you don't even feel like you're a part of the ebb and flow. Am I in the ballpark here?
Yeah, I definitely was feeling really alone during this period of time. And I think what's crazy sometimes about that is, I had a lot of people around me during this period of my life. Like it was pretty much last February, when I started writing that song. And I had like somebody that I was, like starting to build a relationship with at the time. And I had family and friends, but like for some reason, I guess the people in my life that I was putting my time into were the people that are actually just making me feel more alone. And I think that that's something that happens a lot, is, you know, trying to pour into people who aren't pouring back into you. And so I think just feeling, yeah, alone overall was just how that song kind of started. And the way that it, kind of the narrative of the song kind of like goes is just to showcase, yeah, what you're saying of just feeling like, yeah, you have people around you and you shouldn't feel so lonely in that, but you do somehow.
Right.
Yeah.
And like when you talk about like I guess the songwriter or the creative process behind something like that, when you use something from your own life that's totally emotional, that's one way of looking at it. But what is the songwriting process like normally? Or is it just you, oh my God, and you break out? Is it therapy? What are we talking about here?
Yeah, I think it's definitely changed a lot each year. I think, you grow as a writer and you change and your tastes change. And I would say like when I first kind of started doing sessions in Nashville and writing with other writers, it was very fast paced. It was a lot of people sometimes in the room. It was like me and maybe three or four other people and a lot less intimate. I kind of felt like I was doing speed date writing for a few years there. I was just writing with new people so much and something that I kind of was learning over that time was like the best music for me and the most real music for me comes out when I am with people that I know and I'm comfortable with, just because you're writing such vulnerable, intimate songs, and it's hard to open up to a new person every week with a whole story about your life and not feel uncomfortable. I guess for me, especially, just because vulnerability has never been a strong suit of mine with strangers, and so yeah, I think this project was mainly like Mason Street was, a solo, right? For me, I wrote that one alone in my bedroom and finished it over the course of like 3-ish weeks.
Okay.
Just kept coming back to it. And then the rest of the songs were co-writes and they were with people that I was like super comfortable with, mostly me and my co-writer Nick. We just spent like a week in LA and we were just writing with each other and we had like another one of the songs was with him and a few other people also from that same LA trip. So it's always, yeah, usually a process of me starting possibly an idea solo in my room and then bringing it into a session and kind of like diving into it from there.
And that's cool. But one thing I would like to focus on is like some of the things that you are doing outside of it because to paraphrase Jay-Z, you're not a businesswoman. You're a businesswoman. Like this is where we are. So you're multi-hyphenate, singer, songwriter, model. I saw the makeup tutorials. I mean, like, you got your hands in a lot of pots here. How do you stay creative while running a business? Because it's very easy to get in the in and out or the everyday struggle with it, but you're creative at heart. So how do you balance that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think naturally I've always, had to have this conversation a lot between me and my management just because they're like, supposed to be the business brains and the people that try to come in and help me with a lot of that. But, for years it was just me doing a lot of this. And when you are an artist, you also have to think like a business, obviously. It's just what it is nowadays. And in the industry, you have to know the business in and out so that people don't come in and try to like take advantage of you. And I always knew that just from a young age, just from watching my, dad do this and have, a lot of ups and downs in his career. I just felt like I needed to be prepared. And I'm also someone who, yes, is a creative for sure at heart, but I think business was always more comfortable for me. Even back when I was in my duo, I always leaned more of that. And she was a lot more of like the creative brain. And I was a lot more of like the social media girl and the email person and the booking person, just because those things felt natural. And I think the creative part scared me because it was so, once again, openly vulnerable. And that's something that's hard for me and I've gotten a lot better at. But I think because of that, I love the business side of things, but I also have to learn how to delegate. And I think that's where the creative, part comes in of like, if I don't delegate off to people that I trust, after I've been working with them for years, it's like I have to trust them and know that, they're going to keep me in the loop as much as I need to be kept in the loop about certain things. And they're also going to leave room for me to not be overwhelmed by stuff that I can't control and to kind of just focus on like the art and making things. And I think, yeah, there's also seasons as a business, like, there's seasons where, we're focusing on touring. There's seasons where we're focusing on, rolling out a project like we are in right now. And then there's a season for writing. And I think having that structure and kind of, letting me know when the right time is to be fully diving into the songwriting and thinking about music is important for me. Instead of everything kind of being all jumbled together, that's when it starts to get really hard. I'm a structured person and I like to kind of know what I'm doing and have some kind of control because the music industry, you have no control. And that's something that's very, very hard for me, more so than probably any other artist I've talked to, is just not having any grasp on that. And so you have to focus on the things that you 100% can control. And that's how I guess I balance it. And I do write mostly by myself a lot, even in seasons where I'm not in sessions. I try to just keep up with it as much as I can and make things for me and not put too much pressure on it as like, oh, this is, this is going to be a single next year. It's like, I'm just writing to write. And if it ends up coming out, it ends up coming out. But yeah, when I have no pressure on myself, that, like when I'm not putting all that pressure on myself, I tend to come up with the best stuff. And that's kind of where I try to stay, I guess.
All right, and I guess that's we could see it in a way. You kind of mentioned it a little bit with the growth of social media and how you have done that. We can actually, if you really break it down, you can chart your growth as an audience, as an artist through your social media presence because there's more sometimes. In my case, getting ready for this interview, you could see where you started off, where I don't want to call the song simple, but
Mm.
it wasn't as complex as what you're doing now. But there were a little, you could actually chart the growth. I guess what I'm saying is, how do you are you purposely using social media as a form of growth as an artist? Or is it just kind of, we're just watching in real time?
Yeah, I mean, social media for an independent artist, especially, it's so, everything about it goes hand in hand with my growth in my career. And I'm really aware of that. And I think, as a kid, before I even knew that I would need social media for music, I loved using it. I was making videos with my friends and YouTube videos and Instagram. I mean, I had to go and archive like all my old like 2013 videos. They were ridiculous, but I loved it back then. And I think I've obviously taken a new position on that. And I think being somebody that has to rely on, social media so much for the growth of my music, and it can become a lot sometimes. It definitely can get overwhelming. And I don't have that same like carefree relationship I think I did when I was younger. But in the same way though, I'm just so aware of how much it can truly like help me and help me, grow as an artist and have people discover my music, and so much of my show opportunities that I've had, and so many of my like, connections to real people and real life and fans that have come out to shows and just like talk to me online. There is so much connection that can happen through it. And I'm really grateful for that. And I think that's what I try to focus on. And, being a content creator is just another part of this job. And I've had to come to terms with that a long time ago, and just make the best of it. I think there's ups and downs to it. And I think having boundaries with social media is something I'm really working on, because it's just good for my mental health to do that. And,
Yeah.
my management will take over if I really need it, which has only happened like a few times. But I mean, it could probably happen again, because my whole life is really about like, making sure I keep up with everything on there. But yeah, I don't know. It's definitely important, and I've gotten really okay with knowing that.
Okay. And you kind of hint towards what I was getting at next. It's like a lot because of the advent of social media, in a weird way, everyone with a cell phone can be a celebrity or at least attempt to be. So I hate to say it like this, but can you share some of your important lessons of actually doing it? Some of your successes, maybe some failures of like, hey, what to look out for if it's something you really want to pursue.
Yeah, I mean, I always, tell any person that, especially with musicians, I'm like, if there's even like a doubt in your mind that you want to do music, like just do something else, because there's so many other things that don't require the whole entire thing that I think the industry requires out of you right now as an artist. And I think social media can be really damaging and like scary. I mean, there's so many boundaries that you really just have to have with it. And also going into anything, it's like you just have to kind of adopt this mindset of like, my music isn't going to be for everyone, and what I'm doing isn't going to be for everyone. And I'm really only here to connect with the people that I know will love this music and want to hear it, and like love what I'm doing. And I'm doing it for those people. I don't really care about all like the troll comments that receive. And just like, you just have to have thick skin. I think that's the thing. And not it's a lot easier said than done, but I think it over the years I've just had to kind of get into that mindset of like, you have to post for you and be authentic as much as possible. I think people online can totally read when something isn't coming from like a genuine, authentic place. Oh, there is a fly flying
Yeah,
over by me.
I saw it, and I have been
I
doing
know.
my best not to
Hopefully
kind of
it's
like,
on the you said I can see
yeah,
it. But yeah,
you're good, you're good.
but yeah, I don't know. I think like authenticity matters. I don't know if people think about it that deeply, but I definitely feel like I value like a creator online, like an artist or just like an influencer that seems to be coming from a super genuine spot and just like people want to see real things and real emotions, real thoughts. And those are the things I try to remember when I'm creating any kind of content. But yeah, I mean, I would just say to definitely look out for like your mental health and to make sure you're comfortable in your own skin before you pursue anything because like you're leaving it open for public consumption for them to really say whatever they want. It doesn't make it okay, but they will do that. So you just have to kind of be ready for it, I guess.
Well, Savannah, I have to say this, and I only got like three more questions left, but I gotta ask, do you have my sheet in front of you? Because you keep dovetailing into my next question, which is pretty dope. If you're doing this on purpose, I don't remember giving this to anyone, but like that was legit my next question. Well, let's just get it out of the bag now. All right, I'm gonna ask the question. I got three left, so I'm gonna jumble them up.
Okay,
All
okay.
right. We do have an audio version of this podcast. Is it okay if we play a couple cuts just so people will get a chance to know who you are, hear what they like as an artist? Whether that be happier songs, Mason Street, since we just talked about it. It'd be awesome if they know what we were talking about. Is that okay?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. All right. See, I did it out of order this time. You ain't getting me this time. Um, but what I was getting at is when we talk about the advent of social media and what you have put your life on display for quite some time now, and this super emotional, introspective album, the EP that you're coming out with, reminders of you. What do you hope the listeners take away from this? Social media be damned, but what do you want the listener to take away from?
I mean, yeah, there's just so many things that like I got through making this project and I think for me, I think self-reflection and being someone who really cares about the why behind my actions and the why behind my patterns. And I'm just like a super big like psychology junkie outside of music. And I think that that had a really big influence on this EP of just kind of like being in a spot last year where I was really, yeah, back to that theme of just feeling really alone, even though you were having people around you. And I had to get to a spot where I was just like kind of thinking about like why I was in so many different scenarios where I was like allowing myself to be in, relationships with people, whether it was like a friendship or just even having boundaries with certain people in my family and needing to do that for whatever reason, or being in a romantic relationship with someone who is making me feel like really unvalued and unseen. I get, instead of like blaming those people for how they made me feel, I was kind of like, well, what does it say about me that I'm so comfortable in this scenario where I feel like I'm not important and my needs aren't being met and I'm just kind of like being treated this way. And I think I wanted to kind of inspire people to not just look at their current situation and be okay with sitting in something where they're unhappy and just be like, what, like, where's my power in this? And I think there's so much power in being self-aware, knowing who you are, knowing what you've been through, and kind of diving deep into that. And I've been in therapy for a while now, and I was someone that, was really supportive of therapy for everyone else but myself for a really long time. And I got to a place where I was like, after so much that I've gone through in my life, I just wanted to unpack it all and stop kind of living in this like zoned out, sleepwalking, like kind of mentality that I was in for a really long time. I wanted to like fully just be a human being and feel like the range of emotion and stop like almost like I guess dissociating from everything. And I think writing these songs took me out of that like sleepwalking state I felt like that I was in and kind of opened me back up to like my truest feelings, even if they were really hard to like, sit with. And I don't know, I was just like wanting people to feel inspired to like look at their own like life and their own situations and like feel empowered to like want more for themselves, and also to know they can like heal from a lot of things that maybe they feel stuck in and trapped in, and a lot of emotions they may feel trapped in. So yeah, I guess that's really what I want people to take away is like not so much blaming everyone else for what's going on and how they're making you feel, but like looking more internally at what's going on So that was kind of the whole theme, I guess, of the
Makes
EP.
sense. No, it makes sense. Age of accountability, if you will, where
Yeah.
yeah, that's just where we should be, but here we are. Um, but you got the EP coming out August 20th. You're doing God knows. I just thank you for your time because you're a bit of a busy person. Uh, to put it lightly, you're a very busy person. I almost obligatory. I have to ask this question. What's next on the
Yeah.
horizon?
What's next on the horizon? Yeah, I mean, we're getting ready for this EP show that is coming out. Or well, EP is coming out, but the EP show is happening on the same day as the release, which is something I've never done. I've normally done my EP show maybe a few days post the EP coming out. And so that same night it'll drop, and it's going to be in Nashville, and we've been prepping for it for months and just trying to get everything ready. And I'm really excited about that show. I have a lot of people that I really love and care about that can come out and support. And it's just going to be something different too. Like the live show is different, and we've changed a lot of things just to make it more unique for this specific project. And so I'm excited about that. I have, some upcoming shows coming in the summer, going to be in LA for a little bit, doing some shows there, some writing, and just looking to next year too. I mean, we're still, yeah, in EP mode now and, releasing everything, but we're still thinking about next year and what that's going to bring. And I think I'm just kind of in this space right now where I'm just writing because I want to. And I like the things that, I'm creating right now without this like pressure of what exactly is the next project. I think it'll come together when it comes together. So, kind
Okay.
of just writing and just, yeah, doing shows and living life.
Works for me. Hey, Savannah, this has been great. You are more than welcome to come back whenever you want. You want to kick it, talk about some new projects, whatever. The time just flew past. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for your time. And we wish you the best on all of your projects and everything. Everything, Savanna Leigh. Just we would just wish you nothing but good luck.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
All right. Have a great one.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.